Time for the latest in business, and a new BankservAfrica report shows the challenging economic environment has negatively impacted salaries since 2018. The average salary in South Africa has weakened amid the underperforming economy, high unemployment rate, soaring inflation and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's according to the 5-year review of the take-home pay and private pensions in South Africa report for February 2018 to February 2023. Essentially, many people in the country have become poorer over the last 5 years. Joining me now to talk more about this is Elize Kruger, who's an independent economist and weighed in on this particular report. Thank you for your time this evening, Elize. Am I correct in saying over the last 5 years in which you collected this data, South Africans have actually become poorer instead of actually living alongside the inflation rate, if you will?
Rafiwa, yes, indeed, over the 5-year period, that is correct. So if you look at the take-home pay, it has increased by less than the inflation rate if you compare 2018 to 2023. However, if one drill into the detail, you would find that for the first 4 years, the 2018 to 2021, actually take-home pay did indeed kept up with inflation. However, 2022 was a particularly harsh year, I would say, for the economy, and therefore also for wage increases. And then, as you know, we've been hit by a significant spike in the inflation rate. So the combination of both a very weak economy and the inflation spike has had a grueling impact overall on the purchasing power of households.
Yeah, I mean, the report also looks at the pensions, and it says that while pension payments have held up against this high inflation that we're seeing, the payouts that people are getting are actually lower. Perhaps break that component down for us.
Yes, so the pension payout is about 65% of the total average take-home pay if you do a ratio. So yes, if once you go into retirement, you will receive less than when you earned, a salary. But what we have noted in the trends of the data is that actually the pension payment kept up with inflation, quite a bit better actually than what the inflation rate did. So indicating that pensioners' purchasing power actually were preserved over this time period, which was an interesting observation.
Very interesting indeed. Now, does this have any relation to the high unemployment that we're currently facing, Elize? If companies can't pay in line with inflation and they remain below, some of them can't retain employees. Is there a correlation between this data and the unemployment rates that we're seeing at the moment?
Absolutely, Rafiwa. The economic environment remains very difficult out there, and companies have been moving to, I want to say, survival mode, whereas, they would have maybe, employed capital for expansion. They are now saying they're using that rather to make plans to mitigate load shedding, for instance. So that is the survival mode that we currently experience in the economy, just for businesses to keep doors open. And that type, I think, is not conducive, for job creation or for comfortable salary increases. So the environment remains really quite difficult for businesses, and then it's obviously also difficult for households, having to live with a higher cost of living and to not getting a salary that keeps up with that.
Yeah, so what would you say then about the notions that the SARV may be quite aggressive after the MPC next week in the interest rate hike? A 50 basis points increase is what people are talking about. And based on what you and I have been discussing, it's not going to be great for the average consumer, albeit the SARV fulfilling its inflation targeting mandate.
Yes, that is a difficult one. I'll tell you that, in my opinion, is that the SARB has already, hiked quite aggressively. We are back at levels pre-COVID. I think they have done enough, and that, we perhaps they could could wait to see how this impact on the economy. But I know that is not the thinking of the SARB, and they will probably hike rates further. But I think we are nearing a period where further interest rate hikes could be progressively worse for the economy than what we've seen up till now. So I think there's a definite risk that they could perhaps, overplay or overhike at this point in time. Although having posted this question to the governor a while ago, his answer was, if you overdo it on monetary policy tightening, you could easily reverse that. But if you're not doing enough to get inflation under control, you could have sort of harsher, consequences. So, what I would say is I think the SARB will hike, although my personal opinion is that I think they've done enough already.
Thank you very much. Let's hope the governor is listening to you this evening, Elize. Elize Kruger, independent economist, joining us this evening. And that's all your business news for this evening.